Jumpin' In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. And here we are again, our new spot on a Friday night, alternating with our sister programme Sweet and Swing. It is Jumpin' In, the best in modern and contemporary jazz from around the globe with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, welcome along to this week's Jumping In, and it's that time of the year when I fit in my annual Flanders and Swan quotation. In July, the sun is hot. Is it shining?
No, not a hope.
No, it's not. Let's just hope that August, which amazingly is just around the corner, brings us a better deal. Sadly, we weren't going to make it to Dinant Jazz Festival this year, but there are plenty of other festivals around if you're lucky enough to get out and look for them. And so, H, what would be your dream festival lineup this week, and who would be dispensed with as being too hot and of a sunny disposition?
Oh, there are so many I'd like to see, and yes, missing Dinant this year, next year hopefully, and of course there is still London in November, so all is not lost one way or another. Who knows, there might be something else. Anyway, as for who I'd like to see, tell you what, I would love to see Lakeisha Benjamin live. I know our Luxembourg correspondent has and says she is every bit as good as you can imagine and very full of confidence. She's got a new one out, Phoenix Reimagined Live, which came out at the beginning of this month, I think. Also, for the first time in 6 years, Norma Winstone, the grande dame now of British vocal singing, is got a new one out with Kit Downs, Outpost of Dreams on ECM. That's came out, I think, in it's certainly out in July, wasn't it? I think it came out a week or two back. I can't remember. Either way, cracking stuff. Looking forward to hearing more of that album, and a fascinating album from a while back, which features Chet Baker, perhaps as you've never heard him before.
And from me, we're painting dots, but it's not a load of Pollocks. We're giving praise where it's due. We look skyward, ever hopeful. And to kick off, here's Tim Garland and the United Underground Orchestra with Ambleside Nights. Ambleside Nights, originally written by Tim Garland for the Storms and Nocturnes trio release Via. Storms and Nocturnes was Jeff Keezer on piano, Joe Locke on the vibes, and Tim. Great albums those. There's 3 of those. But here, given the big band treatment on the Underground Orchestra's 2022 release, Rhapsody in Red. As the name suggests, the album opens with a homage to Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, which maybe we'll bring you on another time because we've got an interview with Tim that we still haven't aired yet. But it features new arrangements of older tunes as well as other Garland originals. And what a great band, featuring among others Joe Locke on vibes, Tom Corley on keys, Rob Luft on guitar, John Aram leading the band and playing the trombone as well, Tom Walsh and Jeff Board on trumpets, Phil Donkin on bass, Arthur Hnatek. I never know how to say that. Is that right, you think?
Oh, the one, yeah,
yes.
H-R-A-N...
H-N-A-T-E-K.
Yeah.
Hnatek.
Or maybe the H is...
He's on the drums, in any case, along with Graham Blevins and Matthias Chop on, as well with Tim Garland, all 3 of them on saxes. Incidentally, Tim Garland, Mark Lockhart, Nicky Isles, Yaz Ahmed, Gwilym Simcock and many others will be at the Amberside Days Festival in Zephyrellis. It's another one we've never been to, that, and not too far away. And that's on the weekend of August the 29th through till September the 1st, if you can make it.
Cracking stuff, great lineup. And yes, we've played, I know Arthur Hnatek, if that's how he pronounces it, apologies if it isn't, has got at least 1 or 2 albums out under his own name. Which
have you made it to Zephyrellis in Ambleside?
Never been to Zephyrellis. No. I know it's been going for a number of years, but whilst it's quite close, it is up sort of in the Lake District, and I suppose you sort of have to go there. You don't normally go through there, do you? I guess is the thing. So you would have to make a sort of trip there, I guess, which is lovely. It's a cracking part of the world. So
well, August the 29th, if you're stuck for birthday present ideas.
Oh, right. I'm up for that. Definitely up for that. Norma Winstone, it is difficult to believe she is 80. I mean, I keep thinking that she's sort of in her 40s or 50s or 60s. She's 80. I don't know how that happened, but there again, I don't know how I got to the age I am. She's not slowing down, though. She has a new ECM recording out. It's her first in 6 years, but I have to say that she's already done the follow-up to It's Recorded Already, and it finds her in a new duo format with pianist Kit Downs. She's done several trio albums in recent years, featuring her Italian collaborators. But a unique artist as both a jazz vocalist and a lyricist, often putting lyrics to some great classics, and she brings her poetic sensibilities to pieces by Kit Downs, as well as classics from Carla Bley, Ralph Towner and John Taylor. And we're going to hear from the album, which is called Outpost of Dreams, great name, one by Ralph Towner called Beneath an Evening Sky.
From the room where he lies, all he sees is the sky's changing light. And the walls of his room seem to fade as they move into night. There's a far distant cry from the depths of the sky, darkened hallways, perfumed gardens. On the air there's a trace. He remembers her face and an evening sky such as this. In a room across town, she looks up, he smiles down through the years. They abandon the day, making love as the sun disappears. Under skies holding still, dappled light on the hill. Oh, As the sky turns to flame, she remembers his name and an evening sky such as this, such as this.
Beautiful stuff. Classic Norma Winstone. Like I said, I have to pinch myself to think that she's now 80. Certainly doesn't sound it. I've been listening to her for, what, 40 of those 80 years, I think. Certainly since the late 1970s when she recorded some of those classic albums with her then husband for a while, of course, John Taylor on piano, and also, of course, Kenny on trumpet with the classic Azimuth trio. Now, sadly, she's the only one left from that trio, but my goodness, still sounding really good. It's been getting great reviews, I think, both by John Fordham in The Guardian and also Jazzwise giving it a major thumbs up and saying it is just a little classic, and I think it probably will go down that way. Outpost of Dreams, a very good name for it. It's got a very dreamy quality to it. The playing with kit apparently wasn't something which was all a big plan or something in one of Manfred Eicher's master plans from ECM, which of course is the label they're recording on. Norma says it was a chance thing. She says, normally when I work in Britain I use Nicky Isles, the wonderful pianist, but Nicky wasn't available for a gig in London, so I booked Kit. I'd never played with him before, and of course he could play everything immediately and amazingly, so we really enjoyed it, did a few more concerts, and I found I responded to his great sense of adventure in his playing. You never quite know what's going to happen, and I love that quality. So on it has gone over the years, and to a great success it has been as well. And we're more than worth checking out. A lovely collection of pieces, I say, both originals by Kit and pieces by the likes of Carla Bley and Ralph Towner, and also two fresh perspective on some traditional tunes, Black is the Colour and Rowing Home, to end off the album. It is, we just double checked again, I wasn't 100% certain whether it was just out or not quite out yet. It came out on the 5th of July, Tynwald Day, so not been out for long, and is more than worth checking out. Norma Winstone, Kickdowns, Outpost of Dreams on ECM. Check it out now.
Lovely stuff indeed. She has one of those voices, and she's crystalline. It's so transparent and clear, and just as good as she's ever sounded. And you say, where does time go? I mean, crikey, I noticed the other day the Fender Stratocaster is now 70 years old, and come to that, how old do you think Blue Note Records is?
Blue Note is 80 now, is it as well?
87 years old.
Yeah.
87. Yeah. Well, there you are. Time flies, obviously, when you're enjoying yourself. Next up from me, another new album and a new release from pianist and keyboardist Misha Tsiganov on the Crisscross label. And this is a treat too. From Painter of Dreams, here's Elusive Dots. Wow. Don't know what else you can say to that, really. Absolutely fabulous. Elusive dots. Of course, musicians refer to the dots as the music, and they would be fairly elusive. I think quite a tricky chart there from the new album from Russian pianist Misha Tsiganov, Painter of Dreams, and an absolutely fabulous band, lasting over 73 minutes. The album's got to be good value for money and has no fillers. Everything's there because it needs to be there. There are 6 Tsiganov originals and 2 standards, and Misha has brought some old friends to the party, including trumpeter and fellow countryman Alex Sapiegan. They're also joined by bassist Matt Brewer, drummer Jonathan Blake, and alto saxophonist Miguel Zenon. And if that wasn't enough, the first 3 tracks, of which that is the first track, also have a guest appearance from Chris Potter on sax. In addition to piano, Tsiganov also adds Rhodes and Mini Moog to the mix, which don't sound out of place, nor do they sound 70s. I think they sound really contemporary in the context of the album. Painter of Dreams is out now, and many thanks to Chris Cross for sending us a copy.
You're listening to Jumpin In with Chris and myself, H, all the best in modern and contemporary jazz here on Manx Radio. And I'm going back to 1982 for this next cut, and this is one that's caught my eye when we were in Brussels earlier in the year for the Brew Jazz Week, or the Brussels Jazz Weekend, or whatever it's called these days. It keeps changing its name every other year, I think. And in Fnac, always worth a visit to Fnac, and in the Enja Jazz Classics series, which I'm quite a fan of. There's some little gems sort of surfing under the radar there, and an album I wasn't familiar with called Peace. Now, I am familiar with the work of Chet Baker, and I've loved a lot of his stuff from his classic time, but this was much later on in his career, perhaps post his peak period, and he has well-documented trouble with drugs and alcohol and all the rest of it, unfortunately. This was 1982, so not that long before his sad demise, when he cut an album with David Friedman, the vibes and marimba player, Buster Williams and Joe Chambers, which really saw a completely different side of Chet's work and made you wonder if he'd sort of lived longer, where he would have gone, because this is much more introspective. It's a lot freer than perhaps you might have heard him before. Let's listen to an alternate take of the first track on the album, which is 3 + 1 = 5. Great stuff. I've been really enjoying that. That has been on repeat, as they say, on Radio 3, on my turntable or CD player in this particular case, being a fan of the CD and vinyl still. You would not guess, I would hazard a guess, that if you didn't know, you wouldn't think that was Chet Baker. Doesn't really sound like him, doesn't particularly sound like his tone, doesn't have that frailty that was quite often in his playing, even when he was playing at his peak, and certainly, even though it was later on in his career, doesn't sound at all weak and much freer than his normal playing. A wonderful one, I must admit, and like I said, playing with the music of David Friedman. And he became a partner, of course, of Jerry Mulligan in the early 50s, Chet Baker, and had that really classic, clear tone. And this is a lovely example of his late combo work, and as it says in the notes, the uncommon instrumentation with marimba and also the original somewhat challenging music by Dave Friedman inspired Baker to one of his most intense and thoughtful recordings. Wouldn't disagree with that at all. You can download that as well in 24-bit, it seems. Chet Baker, piece on Enya Jazz Classics. Chet on trumpet, Dave Friedman, marimba there, and also on vibes, Buster Williams at the bass, and great drumming from Joe Chambers.
You're listening to Jumpin' In, of course, with myself, Chris and H, and where else could you get such a fantastic variety of modern jazz? And we haven't had anything that hasn't been exciting on this week's show, and I'd like to continue that theme with another new release from a composer and band leader who I have featured before, and I like most of his work. He doesn't actually play, he just runs the band. It's Anthony Branca and Imagine. From songs my mother liked, here's Praise. Praise, taken from Songs My Mother Liked from Anthony Branca and Imagine. A lovely album this, dedicated to Anthony's mother, who as she aged suffered with dementia, and anyone who's lived with somebody suffering that knows it's a terrible illness. But he said she still used to smile at familiar tunes she enjoyed in happier and much younger days, so he's put together a whole album from a mixture of different writers and styles, but all songs my mother liked. And a great lineup as well. Would you like to have a punt at any of the names in there? Or?
No, not off the top of my head.
Donny McCaslin on the sax, Philip Dizak on trumpet, Fabian Almazan on piano, Pete McCann on guitar, Linda May Han she gets around as well on bass, and Rudy Royston at the drums, and the whole thing put together by Anthony Branca, who wrote and leads the band. And it's out now on Origin and well worth digging out.
Hey folks, this is Ant Law here, Ant Law Guitar. You're listening to Jumpin In, Chris and H on Manx Radio.
classic stuff. Really good. Thoroughly enjoying that one. Lakeisha Benjamin, Phoenix Reimagined Live. And we were just debating that as we were listening, actually. It says live, and then it's live studio. Oh, what live studio? Well, it's exactly as it sounds, to be honest with you, and it talks about that in the liner notes as well, the new album. It's adding 3 new songs captured live in studio at Brooklyn's The Bunker, a great sounding space where people, everyone from Brad Meldo to Bang on a Can to the Black Keys have all recorded, and we are told it combines the spontaneous magic of a live LP with the crisp, crystalline audio that only a world-class studio can deliver. Can't argue with that one way or another. I think they should have left some applause in, though, shouldn't they? Phoenix Reimagined illustrates great togetherness between Benjamin and her live listeners, and in the case of The Bunker, shows you can pretty much do whatever you want. It was like, you know what, says Lakeisha, let's celebrate life, let's celebrate everything. I'm going to invite everybody to this studio. They should have let them in and just hear them shouting and whooping at the end, I think. She recalls with a chuckle, the studio personnel were very lucky I didn't just open the door. The atmosphere took the saxophonist, she says, back to her earliest years hitting the New York City jam session scene. And, well, now she is just right up there with some of the best. That track featuring Jeff Tain Watts on drums, John Schofield guitar, Randy Brecker on trumpet. And amazing when you think that not that long ago, in 2021, Lakeisha Benjamin was involved in a very serious car accident which resulted in her getting a broken jaw, a broken shoulder blade, broken ribs and a ruptured eardrum. All they could have been life-changing injuries for anyone, let alone a musician, but somehow or other she's bounced back from that. She says, I don't even think about it now, I just look forward and crack on with life. I think she's one of the great golden stars, and gold seems to be her colour. She's very shiny. And one to look out for. Terrific stuff. Phoenix Reimagined live in the studio, and that was out on July the 12th. And there's going to be so much more good stuff coming from Lakeisha Benjamin, in gold or not.
Indeed so. And in fact, one final new release, and it's released today, so you can nip out and get it after the show. Well, probably not directly from a shop, but you know what I mean. Well, that does just about wrap it up, but before we go, the track is from the latest release from Slowly Rolling Camera on Edition, called Silver Shadow. Slowly Rolling Camera started back in Cardiff in 2013, the brainchild of keyboardist and label boss Dave Stapleton, and the core trio of Dave on keys, Derry Roberts sound design and production, and Elliot Bennett on the drums, has driven the kind of band's ethos throughout. This latest one has moved away from longer form, and the last couple of albums actually haven't had vocals either, going back to fully instrumental, but also to a shorter sort of narrative rap. It's called Silver Shadow, as I say, and it has a narrative arc based on a non-existent character about the silver screen, and it's about a movie character that doesn't really exist, but they've added some extra voices to the band. So besides the 3 of them, we also have Jasper Hoyby on bass, Josh Ocalio on sax, Stuart McCullum on guitar, and Werner Payola on trumpet. Not bad at all. And this track is called When the Sun Comes Out. Well, we can only hope. Might have been better to say if the sun comes out. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Dream on, dream on. Cheerio.
Bye for now.
Thank you.